the image for YouTube. All right, go ahead, John.
That's funny.
You were talking about your wonderful meetup that you organized. Good job.
No, good job to you. You got it all lined up. Anyway, so his talk was more of an overview, the different types of testing, the different tools, and when to use it, how to use it. What I really wanted to see was more examples. So from this presentation last night, next month is going to be TDD by example. He was really, I brought it up then. Mark was really excited about seeing that, and seemed like a lot of other people were too. So it'll be a good presentation next month, I hope.
And you really started to embrace that TDD approach to development, haven't you?
Well, I mean, I've been doing it on and off for what, 7 years now. Back when I was at bowlingball.com, I got into it and really enjoyed it. And then when I switched, the code base I was working on had no tests already, and it was a massive code base. Actually, I was working in 2 code bases at the new place. One was PHP 4, even harder to do TDD in. But yeah, in the past, I would say, couple of months, I've picked that back up and actually have other people writing tests in that code base now. So highly recommend it. I enjoy it. It definitely makes me feel more comfortable with the code I'm releasing.
Cool. All right, well, Tom, if you don't want to tell us anything you're working on, I guess we can kind of...
I didn't say that.
What are you working on then?
Well, as you know, I'm editing the podcast now, so that takes up a good chunk of my weekend.
I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm working on finishing touches for a lot of the stuff I've talked about over the last week, or the last couple weeks. I got a new terminal. I'm using Z Shell now.
Are you using that OhmyZSH?
No, I'm using Z Shell with the Zim plugin.
Okay, so if you're getting into that, you need to look into the OhmyZSH. That's what I use. Everybody's always complimenting me, and I've been a Bash guy for a while, and I'd really started to trick out my command line on the Bash. I even started putting up some JS for it, and I was liking about the monitor, what Git branch I was on, things like that. And then I stumbled across some OhmyZSH, which changes your default default shell from Bash to ZSH, but it has all these plugins. It does give you some very cool themes and very nice functions of your command line that you can put in. And like everything I was doing in Bash, it had out of the box. But what its real power is it has this plugin feature that you can. And most of it's like shortcuts. Like all your Git commands they end up with these aliases. So like, I can do GCO for a Git commit instead of typing out Git commit -m. I just do GCO and then type in my comment. A lot of that you can do yourself, but it also has plugins that. So, for example, the one I use the most is called Warp Drive, where when I'm in a directory, especially if it's a directory I visit a lot, I can do WD space add space and give it a name. So, like repos. And then no matter where I'm at on the command line, if I just type in WD space repos, it CDs me to my repos directory called Warp Drive. Fantastic plugin for ZSH. Another one that you use a lot is called Z, and I don't know what Z stands for. It's kind of like Warp Drive, then start typing in a portion of the directory. It kind of auto-completes and tries to figure out, or it doesn't auto-complete. It figures out you can hit tab, and then it will try to autocomplete. It tries to figure out what directory you're trying to go to. So if I just did Z space REP tab, it would try to figure out the path to repos based on the history of the directories I've been in. But you have to have visited that for Z to be aware of it. So it doesn't exactly work as Warp Drive works, where you can define it. Z just kind of tries to figure out based on your history where you're trying to go, and it works. Especially like, I'll clone a new project that I'm not necessarily going to be working a lot, but I want to go back to that directory every now and then. So I'll just do Z space project, and then it takes me there. So check it out. Check out Beach. Some really good plugins. I highly recommend it.
Hey, Eric, I'm going to have you
Yeah?
shut your video off to see if that helps with the audio lag.
Okay.
All right, let's see if that helps.
Are you taking notes too? Is that what I just saw you do?
Yep.
All right, perfect.
And I figured he's got the local recording, so it's not going to matter too much as long as we pick up on every other word.
Yeah, but I was losing more than that.
That's not good. Okay, well, we'll see what Zencastr caught, and if nothing else, I'll just have to give you my local recording. Okay. So we can go back into it?
All right,
No, yeah, so
go.
Thomas should pick up Thomas, you should pick back up because he kind of ended.
Yes.
And you should go back into what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm really liking what I've got so far in Z Shell. I've got autocomplete for commands, syntax highlighting for commands, so it knows all the basic commands, and if you type something in wrong, it shows up red instead of green. Git integration for showing me which branch I'm on and stuff like that. It's pretty slick. I'll have to check out Oh My God Z thing.
Oh my ZSH.
Oh my ZSH.
Glad you're paying attention. That's good to know.
But the autocomplete's pretty cool because it can autocomplete all of the Git commands as well. So you can type GIT space and then COM and then tab, and it'll fill out commit.
Well, Git does that by default. If you just typically have to install.
Yeah, you can install the bash autocomplete for it.
Yeah,
It
but it does
fine.
that for everything
Right.
else as well. It does it for grep and for a lot of other commands. It does syntax highlighting for things like sed, which is really nice. So no, I'm really digging it, and it looks pretty as hell too.
Cool. Yeah, as somebody who spends a lot of time in the command line, you really grow an appreciation for having that dialed in just right.
Must be a loser when it comes to the
So
shell. I just like it basic. It works. I can get around.
Yeah, you're kind of a plain person.
nerd
Yeah. Bastards. Why do I put up with this? I'm leaving.
So we did. We had our Lyra Chat Live podcast today as well, and we had one of you guys bother to listen? No. Why do I try? So we had one of our San Diego Laravel members on the Lyra Chat Live podcast, which was fun. It was the one you guys were making fun of me about getting all giddy about a couple of weeks ago. Tony Lee, who, like I said, we discovered runs Dev Dojo, has this great open source project called Voyager.
It's funny that you got all giddy about him. It's funny you got all giddy about him, and then, well, I met him, so now I got to give him more money and resubscribed.
I did resubscribe, didn't I? You did. Well, because then I realized who he was, and I was supporting a local developer. It just felt a little different. So, You got a problem with it? I don't think you do.
I do not.
But we had him on Lair Chat Live. He's a great guy. I think he's gonna make an effort on being on a few more shows. But it's good. It was just good, that synergy with a local user group member and realizing who he is and getting more involved. So it was a great show. If you guys happen to listen to podcasts, I would recommend listening to that one.
Nice little self-promotion. I like it.
I only listen to one.
So I do. You only listen to one now because you have to. I still get a lot of pleasure out of this. You don't understand how good it makes. All right, so
I love the lag in his audio because it sounds like he's super drunk.
Yeah, no, it just makes you sound completely wasted.
All right, so I need to apologize to the listeners. I am in Arizona, where literally in the middle of the desert, internet connectivity out here is not fantastic. So I'm trying to do the show. I had pretty good success with Lair Chat. Nobody seemed to complain about anything on Lair Chat.
Well, they're much nicer than we are.
Yeah, they're Canadian. That's how those Canadians work. But there is a very high probability that I will drop off, which may help the show. And if that happens, John and Tom will carry on without me, I'm sure, and I'll try to get back in. But yes, I don't have the best connectivity right now, and I apologize.
Or we'll freeze in our tracks and look at each other like, what do we do?
Yeah, Eric runs the show. We'll just be stuck.
I was going down a path here, and you sidetracked me, and I don't remember what I was doing. Oh, that's what I was doing. A friend of the show. I only say that because Thomas says that all the time. This guy actually listens to the show, but our Australian buddy from North Meets South and Lairville News podcast, Michael Dorinda.
I'm glad you got his name right.
Messaged me. Lots of confident with it now. Michael Dorinda. I have to put that extra at the end just to make sure I say it correctly. But we're always talking about new messaging clients, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. About we were reminiscing on old messaging clients and those unified messengers, and we talked about Trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
And AIM or Game and all those. And I'm like, man, it would be great to have a Trillion client for today's. Guy doesn't end up providing one. He's like, hey, did you see this? And he sent me a link to this client called Franz, Franz. Franz. And what I suspect is happening is that it's an Electron app that's a wrapper where each service is its own web browser. And so it gives you an interface to things like Slack, Skype, Google Hangouts, even inboxes like Gmail, all in this one interface. And I got to say, it actually doesn't suck. It's funny because I was like trying to figure out what it was doing at first. It wasn't very clear to me because I was adding services, but I wasn't logging into anything. And then I realized I had to go to that tab of that service to log in. And when you logged in, it was the web interface to that service. So of using the application through the web interface. So it's like Slack has a web interface. It's the same principle, but it's nice to have all those messaging clients in one location. So I was able to have my Telegram, Slack, a Google Inbox, Hangouts, everything in one confined window. And then obviously through the Electron, I'm assuming it's Electron. I don't know for sure. I didn't look at it. Feel of an Electron app. It manages things like notifications. So you don't get all these awkward notifications like a Slack notification, then a Google Hangout notification. It's a unified looking notification window being delivered to you through this overall overarching application that all these other services are running in.
So
So
do you
it-
like it enough? You think you're going to continue using it?
I sucker, and this is the same issue I had back in the day when I was using Trillian. There were things that you could do in the native app that you couldn't do in Trillian. Like in Yahoo Messaging, you used to be able to buzz people, but that wouldn't work in Trillian. Like if somebody tried to buzz you, it wouldn't work. So it was nice on the laptop because I could switch over to my friends window and have all my messaging right there. And with the laptop, when I have limited space, limited real estate, that's nice to have. But I don't know. I like the native apps. I'm still kind of a sucker for the native apps.
I
Now,
can't
see-
believe ICQ is still a thing. It's the first thing I noticed when I went to that website. ICQ is still alive.
This has 34 chat systems in it, and you know which one I don't see that upsets me already?
Which one?
Mastodon.
That's pretty.
Well, yeah, but boy, it's taken off like a rocket. I am hearing about Mastodon every day from one source or another. Everyone is into this thing. It's really going to be putting Twitter up for a fight.
You think?
I don't know.
It seemed so confusing when I saw it, so I kind of just ignored it.
I'm still confused by it. I still can't figure out how to communities to be on. And even though it's a federated service, it seems like if you try to log into another Mastodon, you still need to create an account on that Mastodon. So I'm like, if it's a federated service, I should be able to create an account on one node and be able to log into any node that acknowledges that federated relationship. So
Well, it doesn't share your email though. That's the key, is that you get a federated ID number, but that ID number only ties to your login credentials for your instance that you signed up for. So if you want to use multiple instances, you have to have that same ID number on multiple accounts. But I'm interested in. I'm going to play with it this weekend. You said you were going to set up a server, so
yeah, I'll do that for you. If you want to see what it's like to manage a node, spin up a node and manage it, and if we get some traction behind it, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, and we can advertise our node on our new PHP Ugly subreddit.
What?
That's right, we do have
What?
subreddit. I think this is a good idea, Thomas. I do. We have one of these shows where people like to contribute, and I'm definitely down for people. And people can always Twitter me, which is really how a lot of people either find me on Slack or tweet me. But having a subreddit, I think it gives us an opportunity to share links. People contribute links. I like the idea. It'll be cool to see if people use it or if it's just us, but good approach. Good job.
Yeah, as soon as I created it, I got a message that the community had been banned for violating Reddit's community policies.
See, we have a reputation. They see
somehow
ban them.
Somehow PHP Ugly was already on the shit list.
Blacklist.
Yeah. But I got in contact with a Reddit admin and got everything sorted out. So we will have this show and the links from this show in the subreddit, and I think that's going to be cool.
Why are you the only moderator?
Because I told you guys I created the subreddit, and neither of you said anything about it that was helpful. Neither of you said, "Hey, sign me up for that," or "How do I get to it?"
Baby, such a baby.
I'm already subscribed.
I just got it set up today.
But I'm already subscribed.
I would visit it, but I don't have enough internet now. Hey, why didn't... Actually, I just tried to go to it. It says it's not there. Is it not /r/PHP Ugly?
Yeah, it is.
All it says is there's nothing to show right now.
Yeah.
Oh, there doesn't seem to be here.
There will be when we release the episode.
All right, I'm subscribed. I'm Shokum. I'm there.
All right.
All right, cool. Hey, so
good job,
before
Thomas.
we move on, we kind of transitioned to that Reddit one. That was a good transition. But I did want to back up to Mastodon a little bit. Do you guys remember was that open source Twitter clone that ran for years, and I thought for sure would eventually take off and never did? Any of you guys remember what that was?
Google Wave.
No, this was it was strictly open source. This was an open source, and it was flat out a Twitter clone. It was, God, I can't remember what it's called. Now I don't think it's anymore.
I've seen people complaining about Mastodon being just another one of those, like flavor of the month or a year.
And if anybody can remember, and I think it was, again they call it a micro blog. If anybody can remember what that old open source micro blog is, post it to our Reddit.
You could be the first post.
Yeah, there was.
You just said there's something there before the episode's released.
I might have lied.
It was called. You know what? It was called. I want to say it was called. Was it Status? No, not Status.
Stasis.
Because it changed names. Like a company bought it, or a company invest. I forget it all. I don't remember.
Firefeed.
No, it wasn't Firefeed. It wasn't Firefeed.
All right, spending too much time on it. Let's move on.
Spent too much time on this. The other cool thing this week, a possible PHP Ugly sticker. I didn't get a lot of feedback on it. How'd you guys feel about it?
I love it.
Oh yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have some PHP stickers. I'm gonna go ahead and order.
Did you decide to stick with the all caps or the other one?
He's gone.
Bye, Eric. That's all right. All right. I hope he has a good night.
Me too. So, looks like Eric has unfortunately
abandoned us.
So,
yeah.
Shit.
Well, what else do we have on the list to talk about?
Oh, the Laravel.
Looks like a lot of Laravel stuff.
Yeah, a lot of Laravel stuff. Taylor announced now that Laravel has a command that lets you switch between preset front ends. So that includes React, Vue, Bootstrap, or just no front end scaffolding whatsoever.
Now, when you say switch between them, you can't do that.
No, this is sort of a choose your component at runtime issue. You know what I wonder? I wonder if Eric is just talking to himself and doesn't know yet. That would be hilarious.
That'd be funny. Can't wait. So is this like trying to keep the libraries out of the code base until you decide to use them?
No, because 5.4 ships with Vue as the default. So I mean, I don't understand this, because he removed the HTML helper stuff when he went to 5.0. And so you had to go to the Laravel collective and get the HTML helpers from there. This seems like adding front end that you should just put in manually.
Through like Bower or something like that.
Yeah. This seems like trying to get back to the front end.
I mean, from the image that I'm seeing, it's Artisan preset React, and it's installing the React scaffolding. So maybe it's not only installing the libraries, but putting other stuff in there for you to be able to use.
Yeah, but shouldn't that be a package? I mean, right now, Fabien Potencier is writing series of articles about getting away from this kind of thing with Symfony,
Mhm.
and that having modular functionality, building what you want from base components when you start a project. This seems unnecessary.
Yeah, but again, I'm going back to the fact that it's saying scaffolding.
Yeah.
It's not just the libraries itself. There's something else in there. I just haven't read the article to know enough about it.
Well, and we know that Taylor's focus is the artisan community, the sort of solo developer and rapid rollout of projects. I remember hearing him talking at Laracon, basically saying, "Yeah, this is a framework for one guy or a couple guys working on something together, and if you want to strip stuff out, you can." But I mean, the reason that Spark was created was to save everyone else the pain of having to write that same thing from scratch every single time.
Mm-hmm. Which I think we get to take advantage of here soon for a project coming up. Looking forward to that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we're trying to convince one of our clients that is using WordPress in a completely butchered way to let us rewrite it, and we would start with Spark.
Is he using WordPress as a store?
No, it's even worse than that.
Ugh.
It's so bad. It's a multi-site WordPress install, and it's really just butchered WordPress. I don't know what they were trying, who convinced them to go this route, and we took it over and have hated many a minute, many an hour trying to get it working. But they finally went live site a couple months ago, and we're still working with them, so they don't hate us, which is a good thing. So
now you guys do a lot of Laravel development. Diego Dev does a ton of Laravel development.
mm-hmm.
Have you looked into becoming an officially certified Laravel developer?
Yes, we have, as a matter of fact. Not certified Laravel developer. We've looked into the Laravel partner program, and actually it just looks like it's almost like a pay to be in their directory type of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor's being a lot more protective of it, and he's vetting who gets on there. It's not like you could just pay and be on there, but you can pay, and he will say, "Let me come check you out and make sure you do what you say you can do." And
okay, so there's
we'll
no chance that we'd ever actually show up on there. PCs.
It's not cheap either. Forget Eric looked into it more than I did.
See, I was wondering about that because this is like a full page ad for Vehicle and Titan company, and yeah, I didn't imagine that this was going to be a.
Yeah, they were the first two to be accepted, I think, is how it worked out.
They were also the first two to actually know about it as well.
Probably. But I think, didn't Taylor make a big deal of the fact that he went out to those companies to know more about them?
Yeah, these are companies that have financially supported Laravel in the past and have been doing Laravel development for a while now. And he's met the founders of the companies, and yeah, he's. I mean, it's vetted for sure. And I think I've seen Vehicle and Titan have both been sponsors for Laracon several years going back.
Yeah, so I don't know where Eric saw pricing, so maybe he saw something that he thought was pricing for the partner program. I'm not sure, but what he did see, it wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
So,
but
advertising, I mean, luckily we're in a position right now where we don't need new clients, but
that's cozy.
Definitely something to think about. For now.
Yeah, and I know that there is a certification process in the works. So not just the partner program, but there is a Laravel certified developers thing coming at some point.
Mhm.
So we'll see what that turns into. I'm excited about it. I'd love to get a Laravel certification.
Yeah, I would definitely look into it myself. I kind of want to become a PHP certified developer, but I don't even know why. I don't need it. Maybe just to validate myself. I don't know.
I would it would PHP still upsets me every once in a while in a way that it shouldn't, but I had to do something where I was fetching results from an API and then I had to shuffle them up because it was always the same result set in the same order.
Mhm.
Yeah, the command for that is still just shuffle, not array shuffle. And it still doesn't return an array. It modifies the original that you pass in.
Yep.
And I mean, I ran into it today after forgetting that that's the case, and I just sort of went, "What the fuck? This is from PHP 3. Why is this not totally dead? Are we so afraid of breaking backwards compatibility? I mean, we wouldn't even have to. You could just call it
Array
ARR
shuffle.
or array shuffle and do it the correct way, but that does not exist.
I'm sure that when they did it, they were worried about memory. If you're returning a completely duplicate array, that could be very memory intensive. So
Right, but now there's no way to get multiple shuffled sets of an array. You'd have to clone it and then do it, and it's just I was really surprised because I'm running Bleeding Edge. I'm running 7.1, and I was just surprised that yeah, it's still the ancient version that still sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, cloning is not that big of a deal. It's basically
I
what's
got a
happening
question
when
for
you
you.
call a function anyway.
Oh, no, keep going.
No, I was saying it's basically what happens when you call a function anyway. It clones the data.
Yeah. So I have a good one for you. Have you ever
What's
been
that?
working on a library or a package or a project, and then all of a sudden it just gets made completely obsolete by somebody else?
It has happened, but I can't remember when.
I
It's just
I
like,
read a very sad Google Groups message today. So you know what Phantom JS is?
I is that the driver for headless JavaScript?
Yeah, it's headless HTML rendering and JavaScript execution so that you can basically do headless integration testing.
Right.
And
That's what I thought it was.
yeah, and it's been quite popular. But we've got a message today that the sole maintainer, Vitaly Slobodin, is dropping out of developing Phantom JS because Google has announced headless Chrome. So this is Chrome that renders everything exactly the same. It just doesn't draw it on the screen.
Which makes perfect sense. It's just take that piece out. But still, people, one, the backwards compatibility, people that are used to it, that's a pain in the ass. And why drop out of the race right now just because Google's going to do it?
Well, he does
Back
say,
days.
welcome back, Eric. We're talking about headless Chrome.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
He
So
does say
the interesting thing about this story is
he comes
I don't
back
know
and
if
it's
you
his podcast all over again.
I guess so.
It's mine.
let's be clear about something. Are we on the same page now?
You broke up there, so we had no clue what you said.
We missed exactly what you said.
Damn it! That was so hardcore when I said it too. I said, "Let's be clear, it's always my podcast." But now it's not as intimidating because I had to repeat myself.
Probably wasn't intimidating in the first place.
Oh gosh, interesting story. When Taylor was developing Laravel, he was looking initially at implementing Phantom.js to manage all the browser behavior, and ended up moving away from it because he said the code was getting too messy. He wasn't happy with what he was seeing, and he went to another direction. So sounds like he made a pretty damn good decision not to leverage Phantom.js.
Well, I don't know though, because I mean, if he had leveraged Phantom.js, then it would have at least 10 new developers willing to take up the reins.
The mantle.
Yeah, but from what I've read in this thread, basically everyone says, yeah, that makes sense. We'll miss the project. Thanks for everything you did up till now, but Google's going to take it from here. Which, I mean, when Google steps in and says, hey, you know that thing you're working on? We actually were releasing our non-beta version of that today. Then you sort of have to step aside and say, well, just remember me when you guys get big again.
So is it live? Is it available?
It isn't live in its major release, but you can get the headless version from Nightly's and stuff like that.
I see. Interesting.
But yeah, huge thank out to Vitaly for the work that he did and bringing it up to this state, really pushing integration testing as far as it has so far. So
yeah, now I'm all excited to try this at some point.
You haven't used Dusk yet?
I have not.
I love it. I've run Selenium in the past, and writing for Selenium is such a hassle. Writing for Dusk is so nice. I mean, if I was going to have to do integration testing on a non-Laravel project, I would spin up a Dusk project and just run it through Dusk.
Now, have you used Codeception? Is it anything like that?
I used Codeception a little bit, and it's not quite like that. It also it can wait on events on the page in a way that I think Codeception, you had to tell it to sleep for X amount of time and then check again. It's head and shoulders above what I've used in the past.
I really got to check that out, and now you have me wanting to again. Because I always forget about spinning up just a Laravel Dusk app to do that testing.
Right, because it doesn't have to be integrated to your Laravel application at all.
Right, it just becomes a separate testing kind of framework, right?
Right.
Like I was saying before, I mean, you can actually use this for monitoring. Wanted to be creative.
Yeah. We talked about in the past how a guy was fetching his bank updates through Dusk.
So this should be an interesting show for you to edit, Thomas. I'm curious about what what's going to come out of Zencastr, because I never closed my browser on Zencastr, even though it's unable to communicate to server. So I just kept it running while I did everything and tried to keep everything running.
Yeah, it should still work fine then.
Yeah.
Except for the fact you keep coming back and bringing the show to a halt. Only because you're so broken up, at least on our end. So it's funny.
Yeah, I think having you turn the video off was a bad call, because now I can't tell if you've frozen or if you're just waiting for someone else to carry the torch.
I'm here and I'm waiting. Somebody carry the torch.
This is John's. This is John's article right here.
Yeah, and I threw it in here just as filler. It's a funny story to me. Did you hear on any of your social platforms today about Burger King's new commercial that they released?
I heard a lot of people are upset.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stupid 15-second commercial where this kid is saying how it's only 15 seconds, 15 seconds, and he doesn't have time to tell you about it. And then he says, "Okay, Google, tell me about the new Big Mac." And then the commercial ends.
Saying
So
that I just
they're
heard
trying
your
to-
phone try to tell you about the new Big Mac.
You just said something? I didn't
Oh,
hear
you're
what it
right.
was.
I think your gain on
That's
your mic is
hilarious.
still a little too high.
So you want to know one of the most frustrating things about this story? When I saw them talk about it on the news, and I saw it every time they showed it, they would cut to an Alexa and show Alexa. And they're like, oh yeah, this is what they did, and he would say this, and then boom, and then they showed the Alexa. I'm like, wait, no, completely different product there. Same concept. I see where you're going with that, but no, different product.
My problem with this is that it's invasive past the point that an advertisement is supposed to be invasive. We have set personal acceptable limits for advertisements in our life.
That was Google's exact point was that they overstepped the boundary of how the product was supposed to be used and overstepped the boundary of decent advertising. Like yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Google used YouTube or any of their other platforms to punish Burger King in some way, because if this was done nefariously, it could have been worse. And the one question is, shouldn't Google Home be aware of this kind of problem and have a handle for it?
Yeah, but that would be so hard to monitor until they get to voice recognition where they know the difference between my voice and my wife's voice, you know.
Well, but there is voice recognition that can do audio string analysis, so it can tell that it's this ad.
Yeah.
And if this was a TV ad, I assume this wasn't a TV ad. Was it YouTube?
Yeah.
No, it was
I
TV
think.
ad.
Oh, was it TV?
See, if it's a
I'm pretty
TV
sure.
ad, that means that Google Home in, let's say, a couple thousand households all made the same query at the same time. Google should have said, that is clearly not a valid query. Kill it before it actually produces a response.
That's a good idea. You're smart. You should work for Google.
It's the content that keeps me here.
So yeah, you're right, Eric. It is a TV ad.
Yeah, so that's even worse on Google's part, is that Google should be able to recognize the same command executing simultaneously in thousands of households as being malicious.
Nobody watches TV at the same time anymore.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
all
true.
DVR.
Well, but then you're skipping the ads, so you wouldn't have seen it.
There you go. So yeah, I thought it was interesting, so I thought I'd share it.
No, I dig it. I think they're assholes for doing this, and the person in marketing should have made a College Humor video about it instead of actually being an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it wasn't Burger King, it was going to be somebody. Somebody was going to do this eventually, or it was going to be a TV show, or somebody was going. It's a creative way of engaging with the people you're trying to engage with. It's just kind of sleazy, but it's hard to see that when you're the company, when you're Burger King, saying, "How can we act like How can we be more engaged more with our consumers?"
Yeah,
It's hard to say. There needs to be a safety needs to be developed, because this is only going to become more and more popular with, the devices are going to become more popular, and then this method is going to become more popular until some sort of safety can be put in place.
So what we need to do is we need to find out who the executive who thought of this is, and then follow him around and say, "Okay, Google, set an alarm for 5 a.m." Harass him with his own brilliant tactic. So we discussed April Fools last week. I think we sort of unanimously stated that we don't like April Fools pranks and stuff. And it seems like the people at Reddit are of the same mind, generally speaking. They don't want to just do a prank on people. They want to explore, they want to create something that explores communication and interaction. So this year, it wasn't a novel idea. This had sort of been done before, but they did it in a way that honestly surprised me. So they created a blank canvas. It was a 1,000 tile by 1,000 tile canvas that every 5 minutes a user could color a pixel on this canvas. They called it Place, our place, and there was no restriction to where you could color in. There was also no restriction on automating coloring in things. So they published an API when they published the Canvas program and said, yeah, if you guys want to write your own bots to draw pictures, you can have a full-on bot war if you want to. And it was cool. It was really, really, really popular. I never engaged in it. I didn't care in the slightest bit. But I was really surprised because they released a complete breakdown of how they built this system and built it to scale for hundreds of thousands of users per second, all the way down to interactive graphs that show activity over time, request rates, response times, their infrastructure for how they manage the data. Just a stunning amount of information about how they executed this and how they rendered it too. Pixels that were close together being represented by mixing the colors together to create a 16-bit color instead of an 8-bit color which you were given to draw with. Just crazy, crazy stuff. And
so each person can only draw color in 1 pixel every 5 minutes. Is that what you said?
Right. So 1 pixel every 5 minutes. Now the goal here was that no one person could excessively influence the canvas. Previous attempts at a similar sort of public canvas had problems with people writing a bot and then the bot just destroyed the entire canvas at once or destroyed large portions of it at once. But this was written for the purpose of people to get together and work on stuff, work on a cohesive picture out of the efforts of many people. And sort of by the nature of subreddits and how subreddits work, these micro communities decided, hey, this is our plot of land and we're going to draw our art and design on it, and we're going to keep it, we're going to maintain it. So here's, if you're an active user, here's your grid to draw on, and every 5 minutes you have to make sure that this pixel stays here. And if it's not, then you've got to color it the right color.
So you could change the existing pixels.
Yeah, there was no rule on which one you could or couldn't draw on. You could draw on someone else's, no problem.
Huh.
But because you could only draw 1 pixel every 5 minutes, which there were changes in the rules as the project went along. But yeah, generally speaking, every 5 minutes. And the communities that came together out of this really managed amazing stuff. Pieces of art that just dominate the canvas detailed logos. Really, it's impressive seeing a community sort of spawn and then evolve over a 1 week period.
Very interesting.
So yeah, we'll have this link for sure, but it goes into the designing of their Cassandra database, which is, I believe, Apache's big data system.
It is. Yep.
They talk about the APIs and the hit rates. One of the funny things they talk about is that towards the end, they've got hundreds or thousands of bots frequently hitting the API, and they killed the API. But these bots were developed by people who didn't care about how frequently they tried to retry requests. So all of a sudden, after they killed the API, they got a huge jump in requests because everyone was retrying over and over and over. They talk about integrating the mobile app support, what they got wrong, thinking they thought that their network utilization was going to be the problem, but it ended up being CPU usage on WebSockets. Hundreds of large servers getting crispy. They talk about using RabbitMQ for their queuing system, which I was surprised. I would have thought they'd have some really expensive off-the-shelf software, but RabbitMQ is open source and available. And then
the amount of money they had to spend in bandwidth on that.
I think they've got deals on bandwidth.
Yeah, I'm sure, but
yeah, I mean, still gigantic. It's an investment, and this is the second year that they've done something I can remember. Last year they did the button, and the button was just a button you kept pressing until the last person pressed it, and then it died. It's weird social experiment stuff. But yeah, they get all the way from the back end, how they laid out their big data matrix, all the way to the front end, how they rendered it in Canvas and how they used Canvas to do dithering animation, camera panning and zooming. Is really an in-depth write-up. I mean, some of it I understand, some of it's just not what I do, and seeing this wide a range of skills being put to practice it's pretty interesting.
Very. I'm amazed by everything that's in here right now as I'm trying to just kind of scroll through it. Not the right time to look at it.
It is dense. There is a lot more than you think you could fit on it, because some communities work together to share space so that one logo would overlap another, and they wouldn't just be crapping on each other's work. They would work together to make a seamless integration. So it's really impressive. Impressive work by the developers and by the community.
I've been very upset as we've gone through this. I haven't heard much doom and gloom.
Yeah, I feel bad. I swear to God, I went looking on Reddit specifically for doom and gloom articles. I got nothing. I mean, there's the political stuff, but then I'm just the Colbert Show. I've got one story.
Don't get me started.
I've got one story that's supposed to be doom and gloom-ish, but it's really just funny.
Why is that?
Well, someone hacked the Dallas emergency siren system and set off all of the all of the tornado and other disaster warnings at once. So Dallas being in natural disaster country, has a network of very, very powerful sirens to notify everyone that there's danger in the area. And at 11:42 p.m., all of them went off.
Wow.
156 emergency sirens for 90 minutes.
I would can't go that strong. I would be pissed though. I couldn't sleep because of that.
You have a baby.
Yeah.
It would just, but still hilarious.
Doesn't end until 1:17 a.m.
Right. And it affects 1.6 million people all at once.
Wow.
So, and it's even worse because it's like a car alarm. The alarm has a cycle. It has a 90-second cycle, and then it stops for a little bit, and then it starts up again. So it ran through 15 cycles before it got shut down. And there was an update that there are new security measures in the system to prevent this from ever happening again. But oh my God. It's just you imagine that like your job is security on the siren system and 1.6 million people are mad at you this morning. And you didn't get a good night's sleep. They didn't get a good night's sleep.
I want to know how the hack happened. Like, what did they tap into? How did it get started? Like, was it a virus that infected like a computer in their network, or?
I would be more curious to find out what they sit there and said. Oh yeah, security measures have been put in place so that this doesn't happen again. Yeah, but have they validated that they can actually use the system again if needed? It's like, what if the security measure actually prevents it from being used the way it was intended to be used? They put a security measure in place.
And they forgot to allow themselves to set it off or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, you know what the next step is you got to hack all of these sirens to say, "Okay, Google, tell me about the Whopper."
That would actually be awesome.
No. Okay, Google, tell me about Diego Dev.
Yeah.
Stop my phone.
Turn your phone off.
It's fun.
I mean, this is the whole OK Google, OK Alexa thing is SQL injection all over again. It's like people trying SQL injection just to see where they can get it to fire. I think we need to name the show title as SQL injection just to see if we take down any of the services that use us. But
or we need to make the title "Turn off your Google device" if you're listening to us.
But you guys use if this then that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Every day religiously.
So as the Internet of Things becomes a bigger and bigger deal, without specific voice recognition, if it doesn't know that it's me or you, then you could have someone yell through your window, "Okay, Google, turn the lights off."
Mm-hmm.
Or, "Okay, Google, set the washing machine on fire."
It doesn't work like that, actually. The machine won't just do anything you tell it to do. Washing machine have the ability to go on fire, number one.
I just rewatched Hackers, and absolutely that's how it works.
So you're right, but we shouldn't focus on the OK Google, OK Alexa stuff. The whole Internet of Things security model, we're getting to that critical mass where it has to be addressed. It's the same thing with personal PCs back in the late 90s where everybody's like, "Oh yeah, let me take a PC. Oh, the Internet's a thing now. Let's all plug this into a network." About the overarching security of all these devices, and we learned in a very rude and unpleasant way how bad it could be. We're going through that cycle again with these Internet of Things devices, where it's like, okay, check this out. You just hit this button and it orders you Tide. But everybody's when they do that, they're like, "Oh, we don't have to worry about security. There's nothing that can be compromised here. It's just a button they press and it sends out a request." And it's that thinking that's going to it's going to allow the machines to rise up and overtake us because it's just these devices are getting smaller. The security, when it was PC, it was easy. You told everybody, get an antivirus, get a firewall, put it on your PC, and be done with it. But with these Internet of Things devices, it won't be that simple. And people are going to end up with these major vulnerabilities in their house and no way to protect themselves.
Well, not just vulnerabilities in their house, but their house will be a vector for attacking other people as well. All the biggest viruses right now are using Internet of Things devices and inherent security holes to launch attack vectors against other sites. And I would just like to remind you that in 1988, 11-year-old Dade Murphy was arrested and charged for crashing 1,507 computer systems in a single day.
I can't believe there are that many computer systems on a network in 1988. 1988, is that what you said? 88?
Yeah, that's the story for hackers.
That seems a little too far back for me.
Hackers in the movie.
Well,
You're an
speaking
idiot.
of,
Why do I listen to you?
I don't know. Why you got disconnected? Why did you reconnect?
I don't know. I should have just stayed disconnected.
so speaking of IoT, I've been researching security systems for a few weeks now.
Well, yeah,
wonder
you
why.
tweeted something. You
Let me
tweeted something that
guess.
said that you had a bad IoT day.
Yeah. Eric, go ahead. What are you trying to say?
I was going to say, let me guess, you've been researching it ever since, I don't know, your laptop got stolen.
Yeah. So I decided to go with the Samsung Smart Things after all the research I did. It's very extensible, lots of different add-ons for it. So I get at least just the base system, try to get it set up, see if I like it before I go and purchase all the additional modules for it, right? The one I got came with 2 door sensors, a motion sensor, and an outlet, so I could control a light or something if I wanted to.
No laptop sensor though.
No laptop sensor. But no line, I go to set it up, and their servers are down, so I can't add the sensors to my system.
Oh, gosh.
Ugh.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about, right? We buy these things and we're completely dependent on these external services to always be there, to always be accessible.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember? Go on.
Go ahead,
Finish my story. Dang it. So it turns out their version 1 of the Samsung Smart Things, you had to connect to their servers for everything. If their servers were offline, basically your security system was hosed. The version 2, it looks like you have to connect to their servers just to add these modules to your hub. But after that, it's supposed to work without. So we'll see.
Well,
I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or not.
you remember back in the networking days when you guys were learning your computer beginnings, there was LAN, WAN, and there was something called PAN. Do you guys remember PAN at all?
I do not remember PAN.
No.
PAN was personal area network. So we're used to our security profiles in this day and age being defined as local or external. So is it on the network locally or is it on the network outside of my home?
Mhm.
We need to get back to the PAN network, which is a secure network within your personal network, within your local network. So something that's off the line of everything else. I mean, right now I'm recording my video from my IP cameras to a remote system. If someone cuts my net connection, all my stuff goes down.
Mhm.
Or if someone manages to get into my router, then my Wi-Fi connected light bulbs can be shut off over the internet, which they advertise as a feature, but it's not a feature, it's a vulnerability.
Yeah.
But can they set your washer on fire?
Well, he said he bought the Samsung security package. And it wasn't the washer though. Samsung had unfortunately exploding dryers 2 months ago, and then phones, and then factory. But they'll recover.
Hey.
They'll bounce back.
Identica. Identica was the name I was trying to think of earlier. Do we remember Identica?
No.
It's
I
yeah, it sounds familiar.
Oh, yeah, I was all ready to completely give up Twitter. This was very early on in Twitter. I'm like, oh yeah, I was into open source, and like Identica came out. I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I'm never going to end up using Twitter. I'm just going to use Identica. Yeah, that didn't last. Okay, that's all I have to offer. Now I'll drop offline.
Well,
We're wrapping up anyway.
yeah, I'm glad you at least made it to the end of the show.
Yeah, I'm on mobile now, so this should be an interesting bill. See what happens.
It sounds like you're coming through at a crisp 12K per second, so I don't think it'll be that bad.
Yeah, I've been on mobile so the internet here has been down all day long, and I do have to get work done. As little work, as I can get done with the minimal connectivity that I had, and I ended up being on a mobile all day long. And at least I had the foresight to do it through my iPad, because my thinking was the iPad is optimized for mobile. It's gonna use less data. So I'm going to tether my iPad, answer emails, talk and chat, take meetings, but I still ended up on two or three meeting calls that were voice. And so my mobile, and now I'm on my laptop doing a podcast, and I decided to finish it off on mobile tethering. So this should be fun.
Well, at least you don't have to edit the podcast now.
You edit the podcast.
Yes, I
I'm
do.
very excited to see this. All right. Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to wrap it up.
Hold on. I let you.
Thomas can put me on the end. I'm Eric Van Johnson. Keep it ugly. Okay, you just tack that on whenever you guys wrap up, Thomas. I'm good. What is it, Thomas? You're costing me like 30 seconds here. What's up?
I know I've cost you a lot more than that in the past. All right, guys. I'm gonna call it. This has been.
Oh, wait a minute! You're calling it? You
Yeah.
I'm so confused right now.
I call the podcast. Are you done?
I'm done.
You can call it. Are you gonna call it?
This has been episode. This has been episode 57, 58.
57.
57. Why does it say show notes? Why does it say number 58 show notes on the Trello board? See, you're sabotaging me. That's what's going on.
Does it really say 58?
It does say it. It does say 58. I just changed it.
I don't know who set that up.
I did not set it up.
It says 57 for me. It says 57 for me.
All right, guys. This has been episode 57 of PHP Ugly. I'm Tom Rideout.
I'm John Congdon.
I'm Winnie X leaving comment. Can't really say my name, but I'll say something. Eric Van Johnson.
What?
Keep it ugly.
He never finishes it off great for me, so I figured I'd do the same thing.
Yeah, but I already got you saying I'm Eric Van Johnson, so
I know.
I'm just going to edit that correctly.
You do that times.
What?
All right, I'm dropping off mobile. Let me see if I can get back on DSL here.
Kill the live stream.
Kill the live stream.
Oh yeah, let me kill the live stream. Let me kill.
I'm gonna kill my local